Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
This is Comics Evolved. We're here today, myself, Andy, Jarian, and Alex, to talk about the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse trailer. This one dropped earlier on this week. It's looking great. Really enjoyed the first movie. It was probably one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. Jarian, what are your feelings about this new trailer and this new movie?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Into the Spider-Verse, was a great movie. It's probably one of the best things Sony has done comic book wise in a long time, since the original Spider-Man trilogy and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies. So I'm looking forward to it. It's great to see all the different Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse, and I know people are all upset about Jessica Drew being black and pregnant in this movie, but you know what? Learn your history, because the first Spider-Woman, guess what? She was a black woman, a librarian with no powers. She was all built her own suit. So it's actually pretty comic accurate there. To see Peter B. Parker, finally be happy with the kid and that kind of stuff is great too, because often Spider-Man doesn't get that. They always tease Spider-Man getting the love of his life, having a family, settling down, that kind of stuff, but it never happens. Something always throws a curveball. It doesn't happen. So it's good to see him back. It's good to see all the Spider-Man. The best thing about the trailer is we finally got that Spider-Man pointing thing with all the Spider-Man. First, you get the original 3, and then you get all the ones in that universe doing it. And the coolest thing was, if you didn't see the international trailer, there's one thing that's different. The intro is actually the 3 Spider-Man from live action doing the intro. So it first starts off with Tobey Maguire, then Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland, and then it goes into the trailer. So it's going to want to see what they're going to do with that. There's rumors about that crossing over into a live action dimension, and we might see Tom Holland's Peter Parker in this movie. So something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we've got it looks like the villain is actually going to be Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man from the future. It was and that's Oscar Isaac.
Yep.
Do you know what? Talking of Oscar Isaac, talking of the cast is outrageous for these. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about the cast. Who's in this movie? And I was going, this person's in this movie. This person, Haley Steinfeld, and Jake Johnson, and Chris was in the first one, wasn't he? And you've got I think we've already said Haley Steinfeld and Oscar Isaac, but so many great cast members in this.
Dopinder from Deadpool.
Yep.
He's voicing one. Yeah.
Yep. No, so many great cast members in this. But yeah, Miguel O'Hara, it looks like he's going to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first you think it's going to be the Spot, but it's actually Spider-Man 2099. So
2099.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something else also kind of interesting that they did with this trailer, which is in the Spider-Man PS4 games, they actually have the costumes that you can get in the Spider-Man PS4 games, like walking in the background of that shot where it's like the Spider-Man.
In the lobby.
Yep, and it's like changing and shifting, and you just see it kind of go out. I thought that was kind of cool that they linked that to Sony, actually linked that to their own video games, which is a nice little tie, for them. That's always interesting for Sony to make a nice little neat tie. I feel like that.
And they look like they've thrown in the kitchen sink in regards to Spider-Man in this one. There's like every Spider-Man you can ever imagine that's in this movie.
There's even the one with the bag on his head in the trailer. You see that. Trying to think what else.
He mentioned tie-ins, right? There was the whole thing about No Way Home, right? The Tom Holland Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, that whole mess that Miguel O'Hara mentions too. So there's all kinds of breadcrumbs in this trailer.
Which I'm so curious if, he refers to the MCU as like the 1999999, whatever. I'm so curious if that was Sony doing that intentionally or if that was them doing that on accident. You know what I'm saying? Because now they refer to it as the 616.
Yep.
But it was originally referred to as that. So I wonder if that's almost like a timing misalignment that caused that. Maybe I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see if that makes the actual final cut and if that's not modified to say 616.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I'm sure that Iman Vellani will be pleased if it does stick, because I know she was quite vocal saying about it being 1999 rather than 616 when that sort of came out in Multiverse of Madness. She was quite fuming about that apparently. What I'm really looking forward to as well is in this movie is the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the first one was outrageously good.
Oh, my kid loves it.
It was so good, wasn't it? I mean, like, every single moment, not just the soundtrack either, but the sound design was excellent in this movie. Like, it really stood out. I thought in this movie, like it was very much a big part of it, you know. And I'm hoping that continues in this one.
And I mean, I think in the first one, Miles had a really strong connection to music. You know, like they would use the music, like he'd put his headphones on, and then the music would start playing and stuff. I liked how they did that. Kind of brought you and the character kind of together in that moment. You know, but I think one of the most interesting things that I've noticed about this is how much more grown up he is in this trailer. Like he's like a grown man now versus like he was like a child in the first one. And in this one, you know, like it seems like his head's kind of like thinking a little bit differently. It seems like his head's maybe in a little bit of a different place. He's kind of coming into adulthood kind of. And I mean, like he's been Spider-Man for a little bit, you know, as well.
Do we think he's still in high school in this movie, or is he actually in the college phase of his life? Because you make a good point. He does look older in this trailer.
I think he's still in high school, but I think this is like about to graduate from high school. Like, like 17 years old, like, you know, right there about to be a man kind of type of thing.
And that's a sticky age. That's a sticky age for any boy, let alone a boy who's got that on his shoulders to be Spider-Man. You know, it's working out who you are. And what kind of values you've got, and I think that's what this movie is going to be about, isn't it? You know, that Miguel, I'm sure that's Miguel that's talking to him, and he says, you know, it's your decision. It's a little bit like almost like, you know, the Matrix, Neo in the Matrix. You know, he's giving him that decision. You can go and save one person, or you can save everybody. You can save all the worlds, or one person.
Which I guess they're going to do that thing where Spider-Man 2099 is going to be like, oh, if you don't like let me kill this person in the past, then the future is going to be nuts because it's nuts from where I'm from. So they're going to do that, you know, like time loop thing where I guess maybe he's here to kill somebody, maybe Peter Parker or something, you know. I don't know exactly what their plan is with that, but or who knows? I know Peter Parker's child's in the trailer, so maybe it's Peter Parker's child or something, you know, like so who knows? But it just seems interesting. I feel like we're getting a time travel movie here, and it's gonna be like a very similar to Avengers Endgame-esque, but with Spider-Man almost, you know.
One thing I noticed too was the lack of Spider-Man from the first movie that we didn't see in the trailer, right? I think we only saw Spider-Gwen, but we didn't see Spider-Ham. We didn't see Spider-Noir, which we know that Spider-Noir is supposed to be in the movie, but not voiced by Nicolas Cage again. So those allies that we saw Peter B. Parker too as well. But the rest of them we did not see in the movie. At first, it was funny. I was watching the trailer again. My wife thought when he was on the counseling office chair that she thought that was Spider-Ham at first from the voice she heard, but I'm like, no, it's not Spider-Ham. And so I was kind of looking to see if we saw any of those other Spider-Man from the first movie in this trailer.
That was absolutely hilarious. That last scene. I honestly, I burst out laughing. It was so funny. Yeah. Oh, and let me guess, he died. It's supposed to be this really sort of big moment, you know, this really emotional moment about Uncle Ben, and the counselor's like, I've heard it all before. You know, it's another one dying. But there's an interesting moment in there as well where it says about if it wasn't for Uncle Ben, that, you know, that most of us wouldn't be here. And I think Miguel says to Miles, I guess, about being Spider-Man is about sacrifice. You know, and that's where this whole storyline is going to be coming in. Like we said, we're gonna have to sacrifice this one person, like Alex, you just said. We might have to sacrifice or kill this one person so that the multiverse survives. You know, and Peter's Miles, he's kind of saying, no, there's another way. You know, that looks like that's what he's saying.
And Miles knows sacrifice, right? Because he lost his uncle who played the Prowler his Uncle Aaron in the first film, so he knows sacrifice because basically his uncle sacrificed himself to save Miles.
Well, and Spider-Man sacrificed himself to let him escape when, you know, and that's kind of what gets him started on being the Spider-Man journey, you know, is that sacrifice of Peter Parker for Miles Morales. So in that universe that he's from.
I think that's very common for lots of superhero stories, isn't it? That there is an element of sacrifice in there, especially when they've come from nothing. That they tend to sacrifice early on. Then there's the flip side to that story. So someone like Iron Man, for example, there's not really much sacrifice at the beginning. It usually comes at the end of their journey once they've learned, being a bit more humble. Where obviously somebody like Miles, somebody like Peter, somebody who's come from next to nothing, the sacrifice is usually happening before they're even a hero. And then it's a case of if they should be sacrificing when they are a hero, or do they need to change their ways a little bit, or should they change their ways? And they're trying to be persuaded to do it. And he's like, no, I'm going to stick to what I know.
Yeah, I think that this movie, I feel like both the first one and this one will kind of each have like one phrase that I feel like in my mind kind of tied to them. For the first one, it's like take the leap, which was kind of what that was about. It was always like about him, like, does he want to take the leap as Spider-Man? Does he want to do that? And then they have that great scene where he actually does go and jump and make the leap,
off the building.
Yep. And so this one, I feel like the theme of it's going to be sacrifice, which is what is he willing to sacrifice to, do the right thing, to be Spider-Man and try and help people. And I feel like, it means that he's going to lose something else this movie. And I'm not sure what that is. It seems like him and Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen, are they're kind of getting along a little bit. So who knows, maybe she dies in this, maybe one of his parents die in this or something,
or it might not be a person. It might be about sacrificing a part of his life.
Yeah.
An enjoyment or something that he enjoys.
Or he sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
There's a third one, isn't there?
And there's part 2. So it's going to be interesting too that Alex mentioned, the Infinity War Endgame thing. So I think part 1, we're going to end with some kind of tragedy at the end of part 1 and kind of that cliffhanger of something. And then part 2 is going to be that redemption story similar to Infinity War and Endgame.
But I mean, like, we could always have this Miles sacrifice himself and get a part 2 with another Miles Morales' story too, like
True.
kind of like if this would have been different, here's the other version of they could always do something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, sure. So, Jaren, I know you touched on it right at the beginning, talking about the international trailer, and saying that we've got these
live action Spider-Man.
Yes, thank you. But they're not. Are we going to get a little bit more of that? Maybe.
Yeah, I know if he falls through another universes, or they go to universes and they get to live action, maybe we'll see all 3 of them in a live action form. That he kind of, or maybe he jumps in. Maybe there's a scene from No Way Home that we haven't seen, where he comes in No Way Home and talks to all 3 at the same time. Who knows? Maybe if he does lose something and he has to make some sacrifice, that he does, have to get some kind of counseling, kind of what they gave to Holland's Peter. In No Way Home, all 3 of them give it to him in this movie. Like, he loses his dad, he loses Gwen, Peter B. Parker, something happens to him, and they're the ones that he gets pulled into a live action world, and they give him that thing to pick him up and they let him keep going.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if they try and loop this in to the MCU or the larger Spider-Verse. Even if that means the other Spider movies that are going on, Craven, Venom, and these other ones, are they going to try and bring those in a little bit and wrap this in with those?
I feel like this is going to be the Netflix situation where it's going to acknowledge the MCU, but the MCU is not going to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be like, they just kind of do whatever they want to over there. But yeah, it's whenever we decide they're a part of our universe,
I don't think that No Way Home tease is a throwaway line, though. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious to see if they reference like the whole people like being pulled from universes thing in No Way Home, because like if this is about like Spider-Man from across the multiverse in essence, like then they should talk about the Spider-Man shenanigans with the multiverse in No Way Home, like almost. So who knows?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if that is. I don't know. I reckon
it might be off limits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and I reckon that line might be a throwaway line. If that is off limits, then it's got to be, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Final thoughts on how we think this movie's going to be played out, Alex. What's your final thoughts?
Honestly, I think the first one was a very strong film. Like honestly, I think it definitely for an animated film, I was very surprised with Sony. I mean, not that any Spider-Man movie's really been bad per se, but like it seems like a lot of other things that they're coming out with and stuff we're kind of like worried about or kind of questioning and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be like a great sequel to the first one. It looks great. I love the animation style. It
Yeah.
is. I think they nailed the animation style. I think it's going to be hard to top the first one because the first one was just so great. Like you said, it was everything. It was the soundtrack. It was the animation. It was the story. It was like emotional. It hit you in all the right places. Like it was like a different Spider-Man story. It wasn't the same old story. And yeah, I think that this one is going to have to try and catch that lightning in a bottle again and do that. And I don't even think it has to be as successful as the first one to even really be successful, to be honest, because I think a lot of people are going to probably like this movie.
Nice. Jaren, final thoughts?
I actually do think this will be a bit bigger than the first one, just for the fact that all the stuff they're putting in it, they're pretty much throwing everything in this movie, right? All the different Spider-Man, you'll have people from all kinds of age groups wanting to see this for some nostalgia stuff, from other stuff, to even the young kids who just only saw the first film. So I think this film is made for all ages, all people of knowledge about Spider-Man, how much or how little you have. And I think the comedic aspect will be there as well again also. The funniest thing from the trailer I thought was the parents when like, what do you mean you got to be in Spanish, right? You're half Spanish, right? You have that as your culture. My wife got a huge kick out of that, and she's Mexican, by the way, so she kind of got that because she's bilingual and so forth. So
We seem to have lost Jaren. I was waiting to see if he was going to come back. Look, we'll call it there. Jaren's final thoughts were great. Yeah, really looking forward to this movie. As he said, it's the first part of a 2-part finale. Guys, thanks for joining us. Catch us on all of our channels, on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our Instagram, on our Trovo, on our YouTube. He's gone. If you're still there, thanks for listening. Catch you next time.
See you guys.